Hi everyone. Today I wanted to talk about how one would start trying to learn German. What are the best resources one can use during this journey? So I'm MJ and I've posted a total of two videos so far on my channel, one of which was Is Pimsleur Really Worth It? And whether Michel Thomas is also worth looking at. And I wanted to share my journey up until B1 level with you guys. So I have learned that it's best to start attending classes, right? German classes. Even though some people have self-studied and reached very good and high levels, even though German is not a like it's not as tough or difficult as it's made out to be. I think one really needs the external pressure from a class and the structure and discipline that a class or course brings with it. So I would generally recommend attending classes or courses, whether online or in person. That's up to you, right? Just look at your schedule and see what fits best. And usually the classes usually teach either Menschen books or Starten books. And nowadays Starten has basically took over Menschen. I don't know, the zeitgeist has changed. I don't know the reason, but it's taken over, so it's probably more likely to be taught. And another course that I would recommend starting from the beginning of your journey with zero knowledge of Germany is also Pimsleur, right? You could see the in-depth review of Pimsleur that I did in another video, and I know a lot of people objected to my characterization of the Michel Thomas course, and some people have went so far as to call me a prawn for that. I don't know why. Listen, for some people it might have been a nice stepping stone, but for some other people, maybe Rosetta Stone may have been a nice stepping stone for them. And we know that some stepping stones are better than others. So, I mean, again, it's up to you, but I would recommend Pimsleur over Michel Thomas any day. Now, one theme that comes up very much is what grammar books should we look at? So there are basically many grammar books in the market, and there are Practice Makes Perfect and German grammar drills. These are all great books. I mean, basically any German grammar book that you might get is going to be good. But I think the editing and how the pages are displayed and what the examples are used makes some difference. So two books that I've used to look at as reference books for grammar, and I've been really pleased with them, are Modern German Grammar, a Practical Guide by Bill Dodd, Routledge Publishing. And the second one is A Student Grammar of German by Paul Stoker, Cambridge Publishing. These books have been really good and to look at sometime from time to time, and they've really helped me. And another thing that always comes up is vocabulary books, right? So I've looked at lots of vocabulary books, right, and that are in the market that I've downloaded online. And although I'll link some in the description, some of these grammar books, some of these vocabulary books, which I'll mention. Um, One that really stood out to me, which was nice, it had pictures, it was thematic, it introduced some very important words and phrases, was Schaum's Outline German Vocabulary. Now, Schaum's Outline is basically a series of books on different topics. It could be calculus, probability, all sorts of different topics, and one of them is obviously German. And Schaum's Outline of German Vocabulary, I think, was a really good book, and I'm still reading it and enjoying it. Another topic that comes up is slang, right? These books are all okay and great. I mean, the Starten books that you're going to use to basically learn German from A1 to B1, vocabulary books, grammar books, all great. But where do you learn the slang, right? You need to know the slang of the language. So I basically found four great slang books, which really help. The first one is Dirty German by Daniel Chaffey. The second one, German Slang, The Real German by Elfi Gilissen. The third one is Talk Dirty German by Alexis Munier and Karin Eberhardt. And these are books that basically divide up the slang by topic. So basically, romantic German, angry German, friendly German, party German, which talk about different topics and the words used there. But the other book that I want to mention is Pardon My German by Joachim Blasco. And this is basically a sort of alphabetically ordered book, which um, basically divides up, I think, English words and gives different German interpretations of how the words are used and when they're used. And I think it's a pretty great book. I recommend all of these four books, which I think are really great. How else would I know that Kohle, die Kohle, meaning literal coal, could mean cash, or verpiss or hau ab can mean like go away, yeah, scurry away. Um, Another thing that really I think some people struggle with is finding a good dictionary. Now, I think any German to English dictionary, English to German dictionary is okay. Some people recommend using only German to German dictionary, which I think is okay, but at my B1 level, I haven't found that too useful. So I will recommend two dictionaries. The first one is Lingui. So what it does is it has basically two functions. The first function is that if you look at the word, like if you try to look up a word, so, for example, mm, vorbeischauen, right? Which basically means to stop by. If you look it up in this dictionary, Lingui, you will find it in context, right? It will bring up many articles and it would show you the words in context and the English translation of those contexts. So there's basically, it removes any room for error when interpreting a word, right? And it does it the other way around too. For example, you look up the word stop by, and it will give you different translations in German, right? It will give you the translations in context. So it leaves no room for error. And it goes the other way around too, right? It's from English to German, German to English. It's online and it has an app, and you can even download it for offline use. Although the offline use obviously doesn't show you the in context usage, but it gives you very good translations and definitions. The second one, which I found, which is a gem. I mean, I rarely use it, but the the very few times I've used it, it's been very helpful. Is Pond's English to German dictionary, right? Another struggle is finding a good English to German dictionary, and I found it to be great. For example, it gives you a word like call, and it gives you different translations of call in different contexts. For example, call can mean I called her, right? It means phone someone. I called out to her, right? I yelled out her name. And it gives you that translation as well. It's very helpful. And I'll link all of them in the description. Another thing is, what general books could we use that help us? Another fantastic book I found is Mastering German Vocabulary with Bruce Donaldson. And in this book, what he does is that he gives basically English words by alphabet. And then it gives translations in different contexts and it tells them apart. For example, one thing that when you get to A2 or B1 level, right, at least, um, is you will struggle to find differences between different words. For example, what's the difference between beaten or anbieten, both meaning offer? What's the difference between nutzen or benutzen, right, both meaning use? And you might look them up online, and sometimes the answers in some internet forum will help, but most often they will disappoint. But in this book, it gives very clear instructions on how to use these words, and even though it's not like comprehensive or all encompassing, I found it to be great. One issue, though, I would have to mention is the terrible editing done on this book. Basically, all the words are followed by each other with no space between them. They're not alphabetically separated, right? Even though they're alphabetically ordered, like A words, B words, C words, there's no separation between them. And it's a little bit frustrating, but this book is so good that I think one can look past that and give it 4 out of 5 stars. And a new resource that's basically emerged in the past year, I guess, is ChatGPT. There might be some words that you will not find a difference between different usages and context online, or even the book that I previously mentioned. So what can you do? You ask ChatGPT, what's the difference between, for example, fordern or anfordern? What's the difference between these two words, both meaning request? Auffordern, anfordern, erfordern, just and some more. What's the difference between them? And it will give you them. You can ask for examples, you can ask for difference in usage and grammar. For example, some of them will mean, well, this meaning of request means it needs this. The other is requesting, for example, documents. The other is requesting somebody to do something, right? Different words, and it's fantastic. It is one of the most valuable learning tools that's come up in the past couple of years, and it is phenomenal. So, only seldom does it give you misleading answers, but other than that, it is fantastic. Now, another thing that's, of course, might come up is, yeah, these are all great and good, but you have to really interact with the media in the target language. So what should I do? How should I go about it? So there are basically two ways that I found that really help. When I was starting with English, this helped me, and now that I'm learning German, it's helping me a lot. It is to read the subtitles, the English subtitles of German TV shows, right? I'm sorry, German subtitles of English TV shows. For example, watching Better Call Saul or Beef. Um, I would pop in basically the German subtitle, and for the basically phrases that I find interesting, I would write them down. For example, let me think of one. For example, reinschauen, which also means stop by. I didn't know that, and I don't think I could have known that reading any text. So I wrote it down. I looked it up on Lingui, and I said, yeah, reinschauen means also means stop by jemandem reinschauen. For example, ich habe bei meinem Freund reingeschaut means I stopped by my friends. So that's a very good learning tool. Another is watching German TV shows at your level. For example, I'm currently finished with B1, and one TV show that was basically fun. It's basically a sort of a teenage drama series called How to Sell Drugs Online Fast. And I think it's very good for B1 or A2 level. And the phrases are easily understood. And you could use this to basically keep the phrases you've already maybe read or heard but haven't quite memorized, to keep them in your mind, which I think is great. And I will link some TV series at different levels in the comments. Now, setting all of these aside, I think one has to find a really good teacher. I think and I've had multiple. I've had 8 or 9, and I didn't change all of them because like they sucked. They were just basically different circumstances, and during these past couple of years, I mean, a lot of things can happen, and it's really important to find you a teacher that leads the class in German, has a good understanding of grammar and the sort of taught material, and this one is not necessary, but could prepare you for exams, could prepare you for basically TELC, ÖST, or Goethe exams. And this one is, of course, if you want to do the exams, not just learning for hobby. So these are basically my recommended resources that you could use, and make sure to like and subscribe. And if you have any comments or any questions, put them in the comments below. Yeah, have a good one.